So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiance Okay. I'm Mr. O, and today, Miss H and I are doing double duty. We're going to be talking about Season 5 of Happily Ever After, whatever episode it is, and Season 2, Episode 2 of The Other Way. On Happily Ever After, Colt is manipulative in Chicago, Larissa does some pole dancing, Asuelu plays volleyball and throws some axes, Tanya and Syngin get introduced to us, Angela goes to the gynecologist, Libby talks to her dad about paying for the wedding after having a boobs-out conversation with her sisters, and Paul asks his mom for a favor. On The Other Way, Jihoon talks about what he's really been up to in Korea. Brittany and Yazan get into a fight we don't even see the start of. Armando comes out to his parents again. Ariella leaves for Ethiopia. And Jenny arrives in India. As always, we'll have our Students of the Week, class dances, and life lessons. We'll be back again next Monday to talk about both episodes again. So we'll see everybody then. Okay, stay tuned and enjoy.
Okay. Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are things?
You know, summertime, I guess, right?
Yeah, well,
Kind of.
barely. It's summer technically, but I'm sure I'm not alone in this. It doesn't feel like summer because, you know, the things that usually get to do, a lot of people don't get to do them.
Still at home. No pools. No beach. Yeah. Yay. I just have less work. Mm-hmm.
Right. I was going to say that we apologize for not releasing yesterday. We had work commitments, and so we are going to cover Happily Ever After and The Other Way today. And yes. I think we're going to attempt to still release on Mondays and cover both. So next Monday we will be covering Happily Ever After and The Other Way. We figured since it's technically summer vacation, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we stayed up extra late preparing this podcast on Monday.
On Mondays, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start this episode, and I'm going to start with the person who was barely in it, and that's Larissa. So we have one scene with Larissa where she's taking stripper lessons with her friend in a weird pair of cutoffs that only cover like the top half of her ass. She says she likes the way sexy strippers look and wants to look like them, so she's learning how to pole dance. And it's also her exercise because she doesn't like going to the gym. After the class, she tells us that she's actually quite conservative because she was raised Catholic-y, but is now ready for the real Larissa to come out. She describes to her friend what kind of man she wants to get: a tall, geeky, skinny, and most importantly, American. Her friend Hannah has just a fancy man to set her up with. Larissa is excited and hopes he's very hot and, to stress again, American. And that's pretty much it. So there's not a lot here. Just Larissa looking for a green card in any way she can possibly get one. So I'm going to go back to the shorts.
Oh, God.
She said this was a workout. Who works out in that?
I don't know, but I think like the whole like stripper pole workout, that's like a legit thing.
Oh, yeah, I know. And so I expected her to be wearing some sort of athletic wear of something.
I guess so. I don't know. She doesn't really seem like the kind of person. Well, actually, I take it back because I'm going to say I at first thought she didn't really seem like the person who works out. And I mean, she even said she hates to work out. That's the whole reason why she was trying to come up with an unconventional way to exercise. But then again, I definitely can see her as someone who would lounge around in yoga pants.
Oh, yeah. Definitely the athleisure wear. Like, she has that. I know this.
Yeah.
She has to.
Right. Right. So I don't know. But let me tell you, there's a tricky balance for pole dancing. I did a pole dancing class once for Friends Like Bachelorette. And it's like you kind of have to have enough grip so you don't fall off, but not enough where you can't slide around. Yeah.
Right. That's tricky. I imagine it's really hard. I mean, it is. It's hard to do it because there's a lot of upper body strength to it.
Oh, yeah. And I have zero upper body strength.
Right. And to exert that upper body strength while still maintaining like a sexy look and a sexy move and not just like straining to like that's pretty difficult.
Like you're climbing a rope in gym class.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Arms are shaking. It's like, this is not good. This is going to break it.
Yeah, but I have like really crazy grip strength. Like, I don't know. When I was a kid, I loved the monkey bars. Like, and I could just, swing around on them all day. But for some reason, it's like I grab onto the pole and it's like my hand is stuck there. It's not sliding around. So
well, that's it's funny you say that because my understanding is, random teachable moment, that's the biggest difference in like physiological strength between men and women is grip strength. Like it almost doesn't matter like how even the women who work out and are the strongest have like the average grip strength of a man.
So weird.
It's such a random like difference, and like why? I don't understand.
I don't know. I've always had a weird thing where I can hang on a bar. Now I could never lift myself up a bar, but if you just said, "Oh, hang on this bar
just
for a while," yeah, I could. It's like no big deal. I wouldn't slip off or anything. Yeah. Let's talk about her ideal man. I feel like she's not gonna find this man in Vegas. It's not that this man doesn't exist. She's not asking for anything too crazy. I mean, I do think she's being a bit specific, but I was thinking, go to the Midwest. I feel like you're more likely to find your kind of guy that you just described.
To me, I think you can find that person in Vegas because she described a professional gambler. Tall, geeky, skinny. Yeah. There are definitely professional gamblers that will fit her profile that she said. Well, my thing is, I don't think she really wants a tall, geeky guy. She wants, like, well, at least the other way, right? When it's like they take a porn star and put glasses on her and they're like, oh, look, she's such a geeky girl. And it's like, no, that's not a geeky girl at all. Like, I think she wants that in a man. Like, she wants a typically, gorgeous guy that just has a funny haircut and some glasses. And look how geeky he is.
She did say specifically that she wanted a smart guy. And then I thought it was interesting that she also kind of threw in a little dig to Colt and said, Colt wasn't smart. Because, I mean, on paper, Colt seems like he would be a, quote, smart guy. And I say that because he's a computer programmer.
Right.
So who else would you think is a geeky, smart guy? But like, I don't know, you would kind of think computer programmer, right? So for her to say that Colt wasn't smart, it's kind of like, what kind of smart are you looking for exactly?
So I think emotionally smart probably, which is funny because I actually think Colt is very emotionally smart.
Oh, God. There's something wrong with him.
He just
like
plays
sociopath.
Dumb. No, he is. I think he is. I think he's smart enough that he plays people. And when he's like, she's dumb, he was dumb when he wanted to be. He was dumb when it was convenient for him. And that's the kind of stuff that she thought of. Oh, he's so dumb. He didn't know what I wanted. He didn't know what to do. He's like, no, he was doing that on purpose. Because we talked about that like last time. He was really good at, he wasn't always, I won't say never, he wasn't always the one who was yelling and screaming and hollering and things, but he was instigating and he was starting fights. Absolutely. And he was doing some nasty stuff. And then so he could play, I don't know what happened. Oh, gee, I don't know why she would react like that. Oh, my goodness. That's the kind of dumb, quote unquote, dumb that he is. He's dumb like a fox.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. So let's continue with Paul and Karini since we didn't see them last week. So we start off with Paul asking Karini to help him to weigh his suitcase by doing that whole difference of when you stand on the scale situation. They're packing up because they are making their way back to the US. They tried to live in Brazil, but they were just scraping by financially, so they decided they should move back so Paul could make more money. They recapped their relationship, which was mostly translator apps, fighting, a pregnancy, more fighting, a birth, and then a little less fighting. Supposedly, Karini says that Paul is a good husband sometimes, but he's always a good father, so that's important. Karini is very nervous about moving to America. Paul tries to sell this move as the best for Pierre because he believes that Pierre will have the best education and job opportunities in America. Karine says that this is a trial and that if things don't work out, she will move back to Brazil with Pierre. Paul video calls his mom and she expresses concern with their lack of jobs and a place to stay. Paul asks if they can stay at his parents' house, and she puts her foot down and says no because she says they both know that if they move in, they'll never leave, and the house is just simply too small. She offers to set them up with a hotel for a few days when they first get there. Mary, Paul's mom, gets on Paul for not having a plan, and she says she hopes he gets his life together. Paul understands that they're trying to teach him a lesson, but does he? Because he still doesn't know what to do. Karine then sits down with her mom and they talk about her move to the US. Her mom starts to cry and Karine says that she will call all the time. Her mom worries the most about Karine's weak English skills. She continues to cry and says she'll miss the two of them, which we assume to mean Karine and Pierre, but not Paul. Karine says that Paul promised they wouldn't fight in America, but Karine's mom has doubts. Okay, why do you think that Karine is so naive about relationship dynamics and thinks that the move to America will somehow magically make them stop fighting?
She thought everything was going to make them stop fighting.
Oh yeah, she thought the baby would make them stop fighting.
Yeah, actually getting married would make them stop fighting.
Right.
The baby would make them stop fighting. Moving to America would make them stop. This one is a little more realistic, I would say, because if you go with the theory that Paul is more likely to get a job in America, because a lot of what they fight about is him not working.
Sure, I guess. I thought they fought a lot about Paul being paranoid and dumb, too.
Well, yeah, because in the recap, you left out the swimming condom. Like, he is.
He's paranoid and crazy.
He is, but I feel like he would also be less paranoid and crazy in America.
Yeah, that's a decent point.
He's totally the kind of guy that would sleep with a gun under his pillow, though. That would make me paranoid.
He does live in Kentucky, so I feel like that kind of goes along with he's not the only one.
Oh, no, he wouldn't be, but that is one of those things that is like, oh man, I'm really nervous, so I'm going to do this super dangerous thing to ward off this basically non-existent threat.
Okay. I think that, what do you call those people that think that America is just like the best country ever and it's like better than everyone else?
Jingoistic is the phrase. I know the adjective is jingoistic.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I've never heard of that, but I'll go with that. Because I was going to say that, why does Paul think America's so much better? Because he seems to think that Pierre will have the best education and that he will have all these job opportunities. And I'm sorry, but, have you seen where America ranks when it comes to educational standings? Not to mention, Paul doesn't seem all that smart to me, and he grew up here and had the best education according to him. And Paul also seems to have a lack of job. So that's also the argument for why he would want to move to America, is because he's like, education and jobs. It's like, Paul, you have neither. And you lived in America.
So America's tricky because it's state by state. Now, granted, if he's going back to Kentucky because he asked to move in with his mom. So that state ranks rather low in terms of like international competition. But most of the international comparisons, you see how low America is. It's mostly behind like Western Europe, Korea, Japan, right? It's not generally behind a lot of, developing countries, especially the part of Brazil that they would have stayed in.
Sure.
Right. So I could say, would he get the best education anyone could ever get ever? No. Will it be better than what they might be available to him in Brazil? Most likely.
I could see that because, remote Brazil, even I would say even remote America. So it's kind of like, I get that. But at the same time, it's like, once again, Paul is a product of what he's trying to strive for. So I don't know if that should be the goal.
Does he think he's doing okay?
He has to know he's not doing okay, right? He's a man in his like early 30s who is kind of like a man-child in a lot of ways.
Oh, a lot of ways. Yeah.
He can't think he's doing good for himself.
I don't know. You would think not, but I don't know. People are just scared of what is outside of, their lived experience. That's like
Sure.
scary to a lot of people. And
Yeah.
even though since he's experienced it, I guess, but like it was worse. Honestly, his life got worse in Brazil. Him personally, he can't talk to anybody. He can't even like figure out how to ask for a job, let alone get turned down for a job. It's just like he is just like wandering around, hiding in sheds, not swimming in the water, wearing bulletproof vests while he's walking down the street. Like
the baby proof or baby diaper bag bulletproof.
Yeah, the
shields.
bulletproof diaper bag. So if you're walking around thinking that you have to spend your day with a bulletproof diaper bag, then going to Kentucky doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah. True. All right. So who do you have next?
All right, let's go ahead and finish up the pair and go to Colt. He was so infuriating this time. Oh my God. Okay.
He's so gross.
He is gross and manipulative. Okay, I'm going to get to it. So we first see Colt bringing breakfast to his and Jess's hotel room, and he doesn't hesitate at all to tell us that they had sex. For her part, Jess was still pretty pissed about Colt not telling Debbie about her, but she was horny enough to let it slide last night, so she brings it up now. Colt gives a very unconvincing promise that he'll talk to Debbie before they start their day. They go out to Chicago to see the sights, including a trip on a water taxi. Ooh, exotic. On the water taxi, Colt starts to not so subtly try to get some information on Jess's sexual past, asking her how many partners she's had in America and what makes him different. Jess says it's because he likes to have sex, and she does too, which seems like a really low bar for a guy. She says that all Brazilian women like sex, which gives Colt his opportunity to bring up Larissa and his very one-sided view of their relationship. The one where he did nothing wrong. That night, Colt and Jess go to hang out with Jess's Brazilian au pair friends. The friends want to know a little about Colt, and they ask him about his divorce and him living with his mom. It's awkward for a while, and then the friends decide it's Saturday night, so it's time to go hit the town. Unfortunately, Colt's plan was not to have a fun night out, but to go back to the hotel room and have sex with Jess again. He puts his foot down and says he is not going out, and Jess has to make a choice. She eventually, decides to go with him, and in the Uber, we get a very, very typical Colty conversation. He frames his controlling as self-defense, passive-aggressively saying, your boyfriend came to visit you in Chicago, and framing her resistance to his control as sounding like you just do whatever you want, and we're in a relationship. We should come first. That's how a relationship works. He finally ends their segment with the ultimate Colt projection, saying she wants everything her way, and she's not happy when that doesn't happen. So, why is he like this?
Because he's awful. We just said we think he's a sociopath, but he is so disgusting to me. I think he's just
gross.
Really like a selfish asshole at the end of the day.
So much so.
He wants things his way. He wants to go back to the hotel room and have sex. He has zero interest in hanging out with the friends. And so it's like, how is he going to get his way? By guilting her and manipulating her. And he says that that's not controlling, but it's like, I don't understand how else you could, what does he think controlling means? Physically kidnapping her and forcing her to do what he wants? Because I don't see how this isn't controlling.
Yeah, I don't know. It was absolutely controlling. And that's what's, I guess, the most infuriating about him is he is a selfish asshole. And selfish assholes are always infuriating. But the ones that pretend like they aren't selfish assholes are the most infuriating. The ones who are like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to do what I want. And if you don't want to do it, I don't care. Maybe it makes me an asshole, fine. He's just like, I'm being completely reasonable. I don't understand. I have what I want and she has what she wants and she should just want what I want. And I'm right. I'm always right. Never wrong. Which was the same thing. It's just a continuation. It's the same thing he brought to Larissa. And the way he stays calm and the way he talks where he's saying these nasty things in a very calm and collected voice that makes it sound like it's a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, he's like a sociopath. When he does that, it just makes me so cringe. I cannot listen to you talk like this.
Because he said
super condescending too.
Super condescending. And to say something in a calm voice now to make it sound reasonable again, where he's like, well, you know, when I'm in town and we're in a relationship, I should always come first. And you should never do anything that I don't want to do. Is basically what he told her and said, but I'm not controlling. This isn't controlling behavior.
Yeah.
You can have your friends and I can have mine, but there's a limit, and the limit is where I decide it is.
Right. And you just use manipulation and guilt to get your way. So.
Mm-hmm. He's just, And I don't
understand them as a couple. Like,
I don't
let's
either.
kind of back up a little bit. You know, I kind of realized a little bit, like, she's cute enough. I'm not saying she's not.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in 20 years, they would look like a couple that's in the same league, at least physically.
I could see that.
She's got youth on her side right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I kind of feel like in 20 years, one's kind of like, you know, like it's all kind of like same, right?
Sure.
Because when they were walking together and you saw the one with the glasses, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, I can kind of see them being together, but she's still trying to be sexy and, like, you know, wear tight, short stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so confused. What on earth does she see in this guy?
I am continuously confused as to, because, I think he is okay at putting out nice guy vibes at first.
Yes, because she even said, like, oh, you're a good guy. It's like, based on what?
Right. So I think it's a combination of things. My theory here. It's a combination of he puts out nice guy vibes, you know, when he's feeling it out, but he doesn't get into this culty manipulation until later, which she seemed to kind of be taken by surprise of in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also, like, just unattractive enough that that if you're her, you're like, well, I'll have the upper hand in this relationship. I can, you know, he'll do what I want to do because, you know, he's happy to have a woman that's as attractive as me. Maybe
He seems to think he's very attractive.
Oh, he
I don't
definitely
get
thinks
it.
he's very attractive. I don't get it either. It doesn't.
I feel like when they showed pictures of him in the past, like when he was like skinnier, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of see like him being attractive. I hate myself for saying that, but it's like he has like rat teeth a little bit. And like other than that, if he just kept his mouth closed, like, his face is okay enough.
He carries his weight really weird.
But yes, but then it's like neck down. You're like, I don't understand what's going on.
Oh yeah, that's part of it too. Is I'm with you on that. When they show him like head up on the things, it was like if I squint and turn just the right way, I can see how somebody might be into that. But then they like show his whole body. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
you're
done
just
now.
like, I don't really understand. He has like an old lady body. I can't describe it any other way. It's like, It's very weird.
Very weird.
I don't understand it at all. Yeah, I was so on the same page as the friends. The friends were not about Colt at all. The kinds of questions and the kinds of things they said were all 100% valid. And I have no idea why Jess would still go with Colt after everything her friends said.
Right, because it's just like, it seems like if you're trying to win a woman over, you know, that you would at least, like, at this point in the relationship, play along with, oh yeah, I want to get along with your friends.
Yeah, he had no interest.
But no, he had one thing that he wanted that night, and he was going to get it.
One of the friends completely cracked me up because of how much shade she threw at Colt. So they're talking about Vanessa, right? The gym friend. And the friend is like, Colt doesn't go to the gym. How does he have a friend that goes to the gym?
Yeah,
like,
so that
man,
was
I love this girl.
So that's another Colt thing. There were 2 times this episode. I didn't mention Vanessa in my recap. 2 times that he said he was going to do something that he had no intention of doing, and said it to the camera that he had no intention of doing that.
Right. Does this remind you of Larissa at all? Like, oh, I'll buy you this. I'll get you this. We'll do this. He followed through with nothing, and then he wondered why Larissa was upset with him.
But it wasn't even like a lazy not follow through. That's typically what you see, is people are just too lazy to follow through. They intended it when they said it, that they would do it, and they just got...
Colt had no intentions ever.
he'll say that, and then she'll walk out of the room and then look at the camera and be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like,
I know. He's such a liar. And this is why it's like I don't feel bad for Jess at all in this situation. I don't think she should be in this situation, but I don't feel bad that she's in this situation.
She came into this eyes open. Yeah.
How could she not know? She clearly watched him on one of the seasons that he was on, because how else would she know to reach out to him through social media? Right? So she's seen him on TV. I don't think any season he was on, he was meant to look good.
Absolutely not.
So yeah, I don't feel bad for her. Yeah, so about this Vanessa person, like she's just a friend. I'm suspicious because he said that he was only friends with her like when he was single. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this, kind of with my own experiences. Like kind of my rule of thumb for getting jealous, I would say, is, was this person before me? Okay, if this person was before me, you know, like that's fine. You had an established friendship. It had nothing to do with it. So by those rules, I would say that Jess needs to kind of trust that Vanessa, you know, because also to that point, Vanessa and him were both single when they met. And maybe the intentions didn't start off as super pure, because I also believe that. Like, usually it happens that, you know, if you have a girl and a guy, like, as good friends as Colt and Vanessa are, it's usually the case that one person was interested in the other person, whether or not it came out. Because otherwise, what would motivate you all for hanging out all the time?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess if you're looking at personal life, I would have an issue with somebody that, you know, had an issue with a friend of the opposite sex that I talk to all the time.
Yeah. Like me?
Yeah, exactly. If they were like, oh, you have to stop. That to me, that would be a deal breaker. If they were like, oh, you have to stop talking to them. I'd be like, that's.
Well, yeah, because then our podcast would die. That would
I know.
be a
we couldn't have a podcast. No, it just goes into the that just goes into the way too controlling. Like, because would you say that you can't talk to if it was a guy friend? Like, because at some point you do have to trust me that when I said this is a friendship and only a friendship, you have to trust that. Because you know, there's been you know, issues with guy friends where it wasn't just a relationship too for some people. So
sure, but I do think that Colt is not playing it right either. Because just to kind of make her happy, he's going to tell her and just bold-faced lie to her. Oh, yeah, I'm never going to talk to Vanessa again. Because I think it would be super shady if you turned around and told the person you're dating, oh, sure, I'm never going to talk to Miss H again. And then it's like, she would easily find out. She listened to the podcast.
You're
like,
still putting out podcasts. How does that work?
How are you doing a podcast without talking to her?
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't understand why you're just going to turn around and lie just because you're just like, I just want to keep the peace. I'm just going to lie about it.
Yeah, no. I mean, which is kind of why, yeah, I wouldn't be suspicious of everyone with no, they're just a friend. I'm suspicious of Colt saying it's just a friend.
Because what's the motivation for lying? It makes no sense.
Nope. All right.
All right, moving on. We've got Angela and Michael. Well, mostly just Angela this time around. Angela is motivated to go to the doctors to see what the deal is after she started her, quote, period. Angela tells the doctor that it's been 3 years since she had a period, and she's now been bleeding for 4 days. She's really giddy about it. The doctor says it's not likely at her age that it's a period, and something could be wrong. Angela tells the doctor that she went to a fertility specialist in Nigeria and they told her that they saw an egg. The doctor says, not exactly. I'm not exactly sure what they saw, but she suspects it was an ovarian cyst. Angela looks deflated and asks what her chances are for getting pregnant. The doctor goes in and tells Angela that, I don't see any eggs. But on the plus side, I also don't see any cysts. So she can get pregnant, but not with her egg. The doctor believes she may have fibroids in her uterus, so she'll have to get a biopsy because she could possibly have cancer in her uterus. Angela is then now back at home, brushing her mom's hair and asking her what color she wants her new wig to be. And Grandma says purple and laughs. Angela wants to talk to her mom about cancer since her mom has had cancer 5 times, and Angela is worried about her own possibility of cancer. Her mom forgot how old Angela was, and when Angela reminds her that she's 54, her mom says she's way too old to have a baby. Her mom is shocked Angela is still trying to get married and have babies. She gives her blessing even though she doesn't think that marrying Michael is a good idea, but she also says that she can't stop her. Angela gets really emotional at the idea of leaving her mom in the state that she's in for 3 weeks because there is a possibility that things could take a turn for the worse while Angela is in Nigeria to marry Michael. So their segment was a little sad because, as we know, Angela's mom is no longer with us. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I really like her mom. She's got a really good sense of humor. Yeah. She's really funny. And I can kind of see where Angela gets a little bit of that, you know, her sense of humor as well. Sure. So let's kind of keep it on the lighter note. Mm-hmm. What color wig would you have?
Oh, geez. I need a wig.
I don't know. You have like way more hair than I think you've ever had. So are you sure you need a wig?
In my life, I have more hair than I've ever had. I'm just saying because it looks terrible, but I need to cover it up. Yeah, I need a haircut. But I don't know. Let's go with the Erica. I know it wasn't a wig, but the purple and the pink, like split in half. Those ones.
I can see that. Yeah, with the giant bow.
Yeah.
Like almost like Lady Gaga style.
Yeah. That feels like something I would put on in my Animal Crossing character. Sure.
Yeah. I think I would go white. Very like X-Men Storm.
Yeah. Yeah, you look young enough that you can pull that off because it would be like,
when I'm older, I'm going to be like, I want a white wig.
Yeah, they've clearly made a choice with this. This is a statement, not just like, your hair is just white.
You're old and have white hair now.
Yeah. Like, it would have been a terrible choice for Angela's mom. Like, I want white. Like that. You sure you want white?
If I was Angela's mom, I for sure would do something bold. Maybe like, well, I guess you have to kind of be careful a little bit with like red. Because red can be kind of reminiscent of like clown color, right? Oh,
like too red. Yeah.
Yeah, like red or orange. Like Pow. I think Pow did a really bold red one time, and it was like borderline like clown color.
Like Bozo the clown. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so purple I think is a good choice. Good for you, Grandma.
What I always liked, and I don't think it works with my skin tone at all, not that I would do it anyway, is like yellow.
Okay, like a canary yellow.
Yeah, not like a blonde. Like, that's primary yellow. Yeah, canary yellow.
Yeah. So what did you think of Angela at the doctor's office?
Oh my God, that poor doctor. Those faces that doctor was making.
Like all that bad news one after another.
Yeah, and the doctor, she just like.
She kept a really good straight face.
I guess she did. She was like doing that Jim Halpert staring at the camera like, is this lady saying this?
I know, because actually I think like lots of people have kind of wondered this on social media. How is it possible to see just one egg?
They're microscopic. Like it doesn't, you can't see them.
That's not going to come up on an ultrasound. Oh, I see one. And they were very specific because I think they did a flashback of it recently. And it's the doctor very clear, the fertility specialist in Nigeria, I see an egg, like one. And Angela even said, so there's still one in there? Yep, I see the one.
And then this doctor was like, I can't even find your ovaries. Like, this is not...
Oh, it's sad. But I mean, at the same time, like, she's had her kids.
Yeah. It's just a weird situation. But remember, because we go back to last season, the reason they're in this situation is because she specifically, Michael wants to have children, but she specifically is like, I need it to be my own blood.
Yeah. And only she thinks that. Michael doesn't care.
Yeah. And that's what they talked about, like donor eggs. So now she only has one option for a donor egg and things like that. So, I mean, yes, you do feel bad for her getting all the bad news.
She has a second daughter. I just don't know if she really wants to deal with that while her daughter's in prison.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on.
All right, moving on. I'm going to go to Tanya and Syngin, or Tanya, who I keep calling Tanaya because the way she spells her name.
I feel like you're not the only one. I want to say the 90 Day Gays also do that. Or they call her Tania.
Okay. But the thing is, I've taught like 4 Tanayas, so it always get confused. Okay. So this is the first couple we have. This is the first we see this couple this year. And we open with them at an empty skating rink for some reason. Mm-hmm. Syngин's having trouble finding his footing on the ice, and Tanya's watching from the penalty box because her foot is in a boot following a car accident where she broke her foot. We get a quick recap of them from last season, which was the only season they've been on. They met on a Tanya's trip to South Africa, and a hookup turned into a relationship, which turned into a marriage. When Syngin came, they had to live in Tanya's mom's shit shed, and we see some of their disagreements. Syngin wanted to live in the moment and not plan for the future or work. Tanya wants kids, but Syngin does not. We saw them get married last season, and they had plans to move. And then they had plans to move down south. This is not a recap anymore, where it's warmer. But after Tanya's accident, they couldn't leave Connecticut for health insurance reasons. So they're moving across the town, but most importantly, out of the shit shed. Missy, Tanya's mom, helps them move, but has some doubts about how they're going to afford their own place since neither of them have a job. Then we see them visit with Tiana, Tanya's sister, and her toddler son, Tobias. While they're there, we learn that Syngin has applied to be a bartender, which makes Tanya nervous because he was not the most responsible of bartenders when he had that job in South Africa. He regularly drank too much with the customers and ended up losing phones, shirts, shoes, and a motorcycle at some point. And apparently his drinking is still a problem in America. He was drunk the night before their wedding and the night before filming this show too. Then they have an argument about the appropriateness of morning beers. So I'll ask you, where do you stand on morning beers?
You mean shower beers? I feel like if you're in his situation where you have zero responsibilities, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I feel like in the summertime, I have been known to drink in the morning because I don't have to work at all that day, the next day, the day after that, the week after that, the month after that. You know, so for situations like that where you have zero responsibilities, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, every day, that seems a little excessive. And then I also feel like we need to reevaluate the whole, why don't you have any responsibilities?
Right.
I mean, as teachers, it makes sense.
Yeah, we have the summer, but why doesn't he? And I guess there's a huge difference to me between, you know what, I'm having a beer with breakfast this morning because why not? As like a special like thing from time to time versus to be like, oh no, I get shit-faced at 10 a.m. every day. Like that's a problem. That's very different things. Just because I feel like it. He was very defensive about his drinking. He was. But then at the same time, it's like she knew that this is the guy that she's been with, right? I mean, they met at a bar. It's like one of those things where I find it very confusing when people meet people under these circumstances and they're shocked that they're this way. You know, I met her at the club. I had no idea she was such a party girl. It's like, really? Let's consider where you met her. Yes.
You know, like things like that where it
which is something that comes up not in this one, but we'll talk about it in the other way, that's for sure.
Right. So I just don't understand these people. Like, let's consider where you met him. He was probably shit-faced at the bar he was working at. So it's like, I don't know. You can't really expect him to be a completely different person.
Yeah, but but I guess what people want is they want that person one day, and they want a different person the next day, and then when I want to go out and have fun, I want that fun bartender back. But then tomorrow,
we've already kind of seen that in their first season. Tanya definitely has. She wants someone like her, essentially, right? And you're never going to find someone exactly like her that's on the same page because she's all over the map. Yeah. It's like she wants a free spirit, that's the part that she really gets along with Syngin. You know, she wants the person who will just pick up and travel and like do whatever and, you know, is just like, yeah, whatever about everything. But then on the other side of that, she wants someone who's responsible and has a job and like, but those two are very opposite I don't know, ideals.
Free spirit that goes with the flow, but also
has a
5-year plan and a job. Yeah.
Right. And it wants to have kids and wants to like stability and be able to like settle down. It's like, no, those two things don't go together. So I don't think she would. I think she's going to have a hard time finding anyone that fits that specific mold, because you either have one or the other. It's very rare to kind of have that.
Right. And she definitely seems stuck in this thing where she's attracted to one side of that coin, but wants to settle down with the other side of that coin. Like, I don't know that I would doubt that she's dated too many men that are all about, stability and jobs and planning for the future. She just like sees them and is like, she's not going to meet them partying at the bar, which is where she wants to meet the men. And that's the men she finds hot and attractive and, are dancing and doing that. Like when she was at the Costa Rica last time with that guy, with her dance instructor.
Well, let's talk about hot and attractive for a second. So they did give us some flashback pictures of Tanya and Syngin when they were first dating. Uh-huh. And it's like, oh, Syngin was very attractive.
Ooh, yeah.
What the hell happened? It was like Tanya uglied him up.
His hair doesn't help, and he put on some weight. Yeah. Those two things together are like,
But I feel like just being with Tanya has also aged him.
Well, you're seeing even in the flashback, though, even in the flashback when he was like at the airport, like they first got together, or just like the ones where he had short hair, because ones where he had short hair were those were the key ones.
Yeah, short hair, so much better. Oh goodness, what was their wedding tattoo of again? Because I noticed it on his finger and I couldn't make out what it was.
It was a zodiac sign, Sagittarius, I think.
Oh, okay, because it just looked like an X from afar, and I was like, I
can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's Sagittarius. Sagittarius is an X with an arrow on on like the upper right leg of the X.
Yeah,
that's like the symbol. So that's what it was. But I couldn't remember. I don't know. I remember like groaning and rolling my eyes so hard when they got it.
Yeah, I do remember something with the zodiac sign, because it was like the sign that represented travel or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about where they were planning on moving. Do you want to move south?
Just south.
Yeah.
Just south.
It wasn't a place. It was just a direction. Oh, we're going to move south. South where? You're in Connecticut. Everything's south.
Yeah, well, I remember. Okay, so I do remember. They just said south. They just basically he was just like, I don't care. It needs to be warmer. I don't just get me somewhere warm, because he's from South Africa. So like to him, if you're like, yeah, but it's going to be 106 in the summer, he'd be like, okay,
yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. Just it can't be freezing cold in the winter. Get me out of here.
Well, knowing him, he'd probably be like, I don't know what that means, because you need to tell me in Celsius.
Oh yeah, it's like 30. Okay, it's like, oh okay, I get it now. Yeah, but like, and it's tricky because I don't know that much about South Africa's climate, because that also tends to happen here. People like, places where there's like a dry heat, and you go to the American South, and you're like, oh, it's only gonna do Fahrenheit again. It's only gonna be in the high 80s, like low 90s. That's
real
not even that
feel
hot.
110 because of the humidity.
But then I get to the humidity, like, why am I swimming to my car? This sucks.
Right. Oh, I'd liken it to having a hot towel wrapped around your head.
More or less, yeah. Just always. Yeah, it's like you walk outside and someone just throws a hot towel in your face and just punches you in the face. You're just like, oh my
That's
God.
how I felt when I was at a conference in Houston. I was like, oh my gosh, how do people live here?
Air conditioning?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you want to walk outside for anything, it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So here's the last note I had. So in the end, Syngin, he's just one of those types that he cannot be told what to do, right? And so she wants him to get a job, and, he keeps on saying, like, I wish she would just be more supportive of me, then I would be happier, and then I would like want to do these things. I don't want to be pushed into and controlled into getting a job or to work or blah, 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 blah. And my thought is, it's pretty obvious Syngin really doesn't want to work. In his ideal world, he would not be working. Mm-hmm. So what does it matter to Tanya if she's supportive or not? The end result is the same.
What does he mean by supportive? That's what I don't get.
Getting on him all the time?
I'm sorry, I just couldn't. I could not watch a grown-ass man sit on the couch for every day and just be like, oh, that's a great thing you're doing there, honey. I love you so much. Let's not change at all.
Well, yeah.
And maybe this will motivate you to get a job.
I don't want to positively reinforce that
Yeah,
behavior.
like, what do you want me to say to that? You sat in this house. You're a big lump on my couch. Get up and get the hell out. What are you doing? I couldn't avoid doing it.
Well,
just my
most
personality.
normal people wouldn't marry that guy.
I wouldn't marry that. That's
There's
true.
that.
That is true. But I don't know what he means by support in that case. You want support. You have to be doing something to get support doing something. You want me to support your nothing? Like, what do you want me to support? What is it you want me to support?
I think that he just doesn't want to work. And I don't think anything or, anyone or any situation is going to really make him motivated to work.
Right. And if he had some sort of passion that he was following, like that, I guess that's my biggest way. I came across it, just said it. That's my thing. If you give me something to support, I will support you. But if all you have is not what you don't want to do, I don't know what you want. But
well, didn't you know he wants to be an opera singer?
But we have bills due at the end of the month. So.
Yeah. Or a jewelry maker, a woodworker, or a fireman. He has
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that he's passionate about.
He has a lot of things he says he will do one day.
Yeah, I kind of feel like bartending fits his personality in so many ways.
Sure.
And it's like, I don't understand. Like, just be a bartender. You can make decent money being a bartender.
I mean, yeah, don't get drunk and drink your, and that's what I said. They called his
chairs.
employers. He apparently was terrible for his employers. If you're a bar patron, he'd be an amazing bartender.
Yeah.
That'd be the coolest bartender to hang out, like to go to a bar. I'll be like, yeah, that guy. We'll go to that guy's bar. Yeah. As the employer, maybe not so much.
Right.
I bet you get a lot of free drinks from him.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk Libby and Andre. Libby is still upset with Andre over Andre insisting that they have their wedding in a month. Andre said that he wants her family to be there, but at the same time, he understands that they can't come because he understands that his family couldn't come to America for their first wedding. Andre makes a couple snide remarks implying that Libby's family has nice things and could certainly afford to take a break from their fabulous Florida life for a Euro trip. He says he won't be hurt if they don't come, but he's decided that they're going to have the wedding, and the only regret he has is making it about him at Chuck's birthday. He tries to get Libby pumped up for the wedding, as he adds that Chuck will be footing the bill. Libby then meets up with two of her sisters who all have young babies. They hang out in the pool and start a group breastfeeding session for some bizarre reason. They discuss the whole wedding situation, and the sisters talk about Moldova being one of the most dangerous places in the world and worry about getting kidnapped. Libby thinks that they're being ignorant. They talk about Libby asking their dad about the wedding. The sisters can't believe the nerve of Andre. Libby finally goes over to her dad's as they cook together. She apologizes to her dad about Andre announcing the wedding like he did, and it seemingly rushed, not thinking, thought out the wedding. Chuck asks what the big rush is, and Libby says that it's because they want to baptize Eleanor in Moldova, and that can't happen until they get married in a Moldovan church. Chuck expresses concerns over their financial situation, so Libby then chooses that moment to ask Chuck to pay for the wedding, as he scoffs and says he knew it. Chuck feels like he's being taken for granted, and he thinks that Andre should have asked him instead of sending Libby. Libby says she feels caught in the middle, and she starts crying because she feels Andre is putting this on her, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. Libby thinks the money will create more distance between Andre and Chuck. Chuck softens when he sees Libby cry and says of course he will pay. She hopes that Andre will show his appreciation and that her dad will not resent Andre. Libby gets home and Andre asks her if he said yes, and Andre is thankful and excited, but now he wants details on how much. Libby felt that Andre came off as entitled, especially when he starts throwing out numbers like 50,000. Libby reminds Andre that Andre needs to be thankful and show his appreciation to Chuck. Libby thinks that Andre needs to not be so prideful when it comes to money and just needs to acknowledge that they really do need Chuck and his money. Okay, how much do you think a Moldovan wedding would cost?
I don't know. I'm a bad person to ask about weddings.
Well, how much did your wedding cost?
$5,000.
Okay.
So that, it seems like it would be cheaper. It depends on how many people you have. I had a really decently small wedding.
Yeah.
Which means I could get a super small venue. You pay a little bit for the church. I did it in the afternoon, so I didn't have like the dancing and it didn't have to pay for a band or a DJ or anything like that. And, just had some beer and some food. Like I did it on the cheap.
Sure. You were a lot younger then too.
Yep. I would still not, I would, honestly, I wouldn't do it. I would not do it any more expensive.
Even now you wouldn't?
Even now I wouldn't, no.
I don't know. I think 20,000 is a reasonable amount.
I mean, what's the average? Isn't the average like 50? What if the average is like 30 or 40?
Crazy.
Well, yeah, you do. Okay, so when you say the average, you do have some people who are like, that spent 1.2 million that really drag that average up significantly.
Absolutely. But I kind of feel like, okay, so my 20,000, I think where that comes from is, I think I had a friend who got married on a boat. And when you get married on a boat, it's kind of like all inclusive.
Sure.
Yeah. Just because of like the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like based on that, I think for about 40 people, it was like 15,000-ish. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and that's pretty small if you think about it, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I think you could do, and I think like the wedding on a boat is really super nice. So I kind of feel like 15,000, 20,000.
One thing I don't like about the wedding on the boat is people can't leave early.
No, that's what I like about it. You're stuck there as the people that are getting married because you don't want people skipping out on your wedding early.
No. Here's what I want. This is the best weddings. Is when they're a little bit bigger, but by the end of a night, all the old people have left, and it's just the young people left.
Like
at the end of the night, that's the best one. And if the old people are stuck on the boat with us, then we can't have our young people time.
Okay,
it's that last like hour of the wedding when all the old people go to bed. That's like the best hour of the wedding, of the reception.
Yeah, fair. Okay, I was texting you quite a bit about this, so we would talk about it. I was very uncomfortable. I think that's the best way to describe it over this whole breastfeeding scene. It just seemed to me so gratuitous and unnecessary, and I kind of feel like in a big way either the sisters or Sharp or TLC were trying to make a statement out of this because it seemed so awkward.
Yeah.
Like, how does this contribute to anything? Why are 3 of you breastfeeding at the same time, and why are we getting close-ups on it?
My bigger question is, why are they standing in a pool? Like, I don't understand.
While doing it?
While doing it. They were just like standing in a pool. I don't understand. Like, I mean, I've known many people that have breastfed, and generally you sit down when you do it. It's a lot easier to do it when you're sitting down.
Yeah. I don't really
like, you have to go out of your way to like, we're going to stand in the pool with my swimsuit and stuff. And it is, I've nothing. I actually am more accepting of it than you are.
Yes.
To do it in public. I just don't think it's that big of a deal, but
I just find it like uncomfortable.
Yeah, it made it look unnatural to me, actually, the way they had filmed it. Like, they went out of their way to be like, well, show us this breastfeeding thing that you do on camera and in the sunlight. And, oh, yeah, no, I don't want you sitting on the couch with a blanket over your shoulder. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Come out here. And all do it at the same time.
Right. That was the other weird thing. That's why I was just like, I felt like they were trying to make a statement. And I know there is a movement of women specifically who say, this is natural. Why should I be embarrassed about this? Why should I cover up my child? This is the way we feed our children. I shouldn't be embarrassed about it. And I understand where all of that is coming from, and I am not saying anything against it. But I also kind of liken it, and I don't know how wrong this is, but it's like, what else is natural and something that everybody does and you shouldn't be ashamed of it? Everybody poops. That doesn't mean I want to see someone taking a dump.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you are going to have to do it in public, or like peeing too, right?
Yeah.
If guys can pee in public, we can get away with that.
Right.
Like, you still like go up against the tree and like hide it. You don't just like whip it out and be like, I'm right here. I had to relieve myself, and so I did.
Yeah. I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable to see it.
I was more put out during that of the ridiculously xenophobic conversation they were having at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well, then there was that happening too,
Yeah.
right?
There was that at the same time. And it was weird. We go back to the breastfeeding. We'll get to the xenophobia in a minute. Like, it was weird that when they did it, that's when you really got a sense of the editing, because they clearly went out of order, because it was like 1 second they would be on, and then like they would cut and cut back, and the baby wasn't on, and then they would cut back again, and the baby was on, and it was like, wait, this is really disorienting.
Where'd the baby go?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is your boob out or
weird.
not? I don't understand.
Very odd. All right. So the things that they were saying about Moldova.
Okay, let's think about this. Off the top of your head, because I listed them.
Yeah.
Name more dangerous countries than Moldova. Just off the top of your head.
I don't know.
Well, I'm going back to countries
I
that
would
you would
wanna go to?
consider like the most dangerous countries, more like dangerous than Moldova. You should be able to think of a few off the top of your head.
I
Like,
feel like Russia.
no, like I was thinking like Syria,
Yeah.
North Korea.
Oh,
Somalia.
Northern Korea.
Yeah, North Korea, not South Korea's
Yeah.
fine. North Korea,
Yeah.
Somalia, where the pirates are.
Oh, sure.
Like El Salvador has the most murders per capita.
Oh God, that's scary.
Afghanistan. So I looked it up on the, they have threat level warnings for all the countries in the
Sure.
U.S. State Department. And those ones, all I mentioned are level 4, do not travel. Right? That's what
But
they
you
are.
can if you really wanted to.
Yes.
They're just
That's
highly
advisory.
suggesting
That's
that you
advisory.
don't.
Yeah, the advisory from the
Sure.
State Department is do not travel to these places. So level 3 is like elevated risk, and level 2 is like things, and level 1 is just normal, normal precautions, right? So
Okay.
like Canada is level 1, right? In fact, right now some countries, even like France, is level 2 because of COVID, right?
Uh-huh.
Moldova is level 1.
Wow.
It is no advisory about safety at all. And she is talking about it being the most dangerous place on earth.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't know enough about it. It's because it's never been on my radar to go visit, and so I just don't even know. So it is kind of a bummer that something like this is on TV, because, if you have no idea, now all of a sudden it's in your mind like, oh, Moldova is like dangerous, right?
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, in order to find that, she had to like Google not even like how dangerous is Moldova, or is Moldova safe, but she had to Google
Moldova
like,
crimes.
yeah,
That's really-
crimes in Moldova.
Yeah.
Like she had to specifically Google looking for the worst case to find that. Yes.
Yeah, something bad happened there. But I mean, at least Libby called it out. She's like, that's ignorant.
It's an Eastern European country,
Mm-hmm.
which, even in, ignorant Americans' heads, like Eastern Europe is more dangerous than Western Europe. But like, usually there's a whole other list of places below Eastern Europe that people put, ignorant Americans put in their dangerous places.
Guilty, ignorant American. I was like, Russia? Russia seems kind of dangerous.
I mean, Russia is, I don't know. I have to look at the State Department warnings on Russia. I'm sure it's not a do not travel, but
yeah, I feel like it's probably doing a little bit better just because of Trump right now. Like, oh yeah, we're friendly with them.
right. But
We'll put you on a lower level of threat here.
yeah. But I was just, oh my God. She's like, Moldova is the most, they're corrupt. There's corrupt. Did you know there was a corrupt government? Like, oh my goodness.
I feel like there's corruption everywhere, and in weird ways. Like
Sure,
when I was
absolutely.
in Cozumel for a couple months, I was shocked to hear there's something called a taxi mafia. I laughed when I first heard it because it just sounded so absurd to me.
Mhm.
But there's like a taxi mafia, and I was just like, wow, this is a thing? Okay.
So I had to look it up. Russia is level 2 because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
oh. And then the dad, did he give in because she cried?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
let's be real here. That's totally why he gave in.
So did she cry on purpose? Because she says she didn't, but did she?
I was suspicious. I kind of felt like she did. But not to get him to say yes specifically. I feel like just so he wouldn't be mad at her for asking. That was my thought about it, And the fact that he said yes in the process was just like a bonus.
I can't say that. That is so foreign to me because when my daughters cry, it makes me angrier. And I have to like leave the room because I get more angry when they start to cry. Like if I'm mad about something and they start to cry about it, I'm just like, I don't know what it triggers, but it makes me angry, and I need to go to the other room
Dad.
now. And so, yeah, that's something that always it's just weird to me that it immediately like softened him up and like completely broke down all his defenses, and he was done. Of course.
Because he was mad. He was like annoyed and irritated, and I feel like she just couldn't deal with him being mad at her, and so that's why she cried. But yeah, it did seem a little fake-ish to me, or at least conveniently timed.
Yeah, right.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, I think this is the last couple, right? For this show.
Yes.
All right, so we start, it's Kalani and Asuelu, by the way. We start with Asuelu playing volleyball with his bros. They talked about how he spends a lot of time doing this in the last episode, and I expected something more than just like him and 3 friends hanging out and, playing a little bit of volleyball. While they're on a breather, Asuelu tells them about how Kalani wants him to help around the house, and he starts to really miss Samoa, and is concerned that his children will know nothing about Samoan culture. His bros encourage him not to forget his culture and to take his kids to Samoa. Then we see them on their first date night, and they agreed to that last episode. Asuelu gets her some roses and chocolates, and then they head out. Kalani doesn't know where they're going, but was and is very giddy about it. But she was expecting something like a dinner and a movie type date. But instead, they go to throw axes at those axe throwing places that are popping up literally everywhere all the time.
Seems like a bad idea.
Actually, I think it sounds like a better. At the end of the day, that is a better date to me. We'll discuss. But maybe it's because I'm a guy. After the date, he brings up a potential trip to Samoa. He makes his case, and when she says maybe, he thanks her for agreeing, but she was just like, whoa, I just opened the door. All right. And then they kind of ended. So will they go to Samoa? That's going to be our... All right, so let's go back to the date thing. Axe throwing? I mean, okay, specifically axe throwing is a little weird. I'll grant you that.
Oh, I was just thinking, like, that's a bad idea because she
is
seems
angry
like
and
she's
has an axe?
resentful and angry right now, and you're going to hand her an axe? Like, But then I don't know. Maybe it's good to get the aggression out.
Yeah, it's in a controlled environment. If she starts hacking away at you, somebody's going to stop her.
Yeah, the axe throwing thing, like, it amazes me that people are able to get insured for that. It seems like a bad combination to throw in alcohol and, like, dangerous weapons. Well, they're not intended to be weapons, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but the newest one that opened up around me is specifically a brew house and also axe throwing. It's very much like, here is alcohol. High content beer, too, because you know how the brew houses do it. They'll make that 9% alcohol stuff.
Yeah.
And throw this sharp object.
Right. Those two things together seem so odd to me. I mean, I think it would be a fun, like, date night thing, but, I don't know if they're really in the place where, like I said, you should be giving her an axe. Yeah,
I mean, I think... Well, he certainly didn't want to just have, like, sit down or just have to talk to her the whole time.
And that's what she wants.
Yeah.
So they're just not on the same page. And it's such a bummer. He's a man-child.
He is. But this is where I throw out, a movie is a crappy date.
Oh, agreed.
It's terrible. Like, and I know it's like the standard thing. It's an awful date. You don't get to talk to each other. You just like sit next to each other in silence. You aren't even facing each other. Like, it's terrible.
So I feel like there could be an activity that maybe is not like
as
a
violent?
Competition.
Oh, sure.
Or violent. Yeah, or involves any kind of weapon.
Well, that's the other thing that's popping up a lot too. So I'm with you. One of those things where you like go crafting and you like have like the potted plant place and you plant a succulent garden or something like that.
Or like what is it? Wine and paint?
Yeah, like the wine and paints. Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm.
So I know an activity like, that would probably be more in his ideal date night, which is fine, but it's like, I don't know, that just, to me, it's kind of the same as bowling.
Yeah, it's very similar to bowling. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like bowling, I think is like I guess if you're married, bowling is an okay like date night thing. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's just kind of like someone's going to win. Right. And then People
That's
are
true.
weird when it comes to competition. Some people just quite honestly don't care. And then some people just like, they might say they don't care, but then they
But
care.
they do. Then the night is ruined because they lost. And
Yeah,
they
like, oh, I
they won't acknowledge
lost.
that, but they're like,
Yeah, now I'm in a bad mood.
Now
I
I'm
don't
in a
like
bad
losing
mood.
at things. Yeah, so I don't know. I just feel like things where one person comes out on top seems
see 'em.
like
I can
maybe
see 'em.
not the best date night, especially if you're not in a good place.
So collaborative activities is what we need.
Yes, collaborative activities, definitely.
Oh,
Let's talk about his friends for a minute.
okay.
So when he goes to volleyball, and I think it's really great that he found people that
Oh, yeah,
are
absolutely.
his friends. And I agree with him that he kind of needs these friends. But at the same time, it's like he needs to have a balance, because I agree with her as well. Like, he can't just leave her at home all the time and never help out with the kids.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely feel like it's a like he definitely comes home from his whatever part-time job and then immediately is like, going to play volleyball, which
Yep. See
now
ya.
that I saw this is really frustrating, because he's not like in a volleyball league or something where he has like a set time he has to be there to play. He's just dicking around with his friends. Like,
Oh, sure.
you could cut that back to 2 nights a week instead of 5 nights a week. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I get the feeling that by the time he comes home, the kids are in bed.
Yeah.
So then he stays up because he probably doesn't have to work like until the afternoon if it's a part-time job. So then he sleeps in, misses the whole morning stuff, and then gets ready for work. And so it's like he really doesn't spend time with kids. So I kind of feel like, I think a good compromise for them is kind of like, however much time he puts in with his friends, he should really be spending, like, even giving Kalani like a break.
Yeah.
If I'm spending 2 hours with my guy friends, then I need to spend 2 hours relieving you so you could go out with your girlfriends if you wanted to, or if you just want to hang out in the house and just not have to worry about anything.
Right, but it seems like that was, at least the way he was talking with his friends, that's his favorite part of Samoan culture, is he doesn't have to do that. The men just leave and do whatever they want and then come back, and the women are taking care of everything. That's the best part of the culture.
I just kind of feel like, is that culture? I kind of feel like, I understand what he's saying, and I understand what he's saying with the, like, this is like Samoan culture, but it's kind of like, when I think of culture, I think of like traditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't really necessarily say like expected gender roles
Is part of the culture.
as part of a culture, because I really kind of feel like that's what this falls under. It's like Samoan society, like the expected gender roles are men are lazy, apparently.
Right. Because of, like, what was he doing? He was like macheteing coconuts for no reason. Like, that was
Right.
what they showed him doing when he was like, what are you out doing? What is this manly stuff you're all out doing? And it was just like,
Digging holes and macheteing coconuts, yeah.
yeah, it was like, didn't seem like it was anything productive. If it was like, if they showed me, oh, he was out building a road or something like that, I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, okay, I see that. That is something. You're sharing responsibilities, but it was like, no.
But you know why he has to do that is because women couldn't possibly chop up a coconut. He's doing things that only men can do.
The grip strength of the machete is just way too weak.
God. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think he's describing culture correctly.
I grant you that, because and she called it. She was like, when we go to Samoa, you cannot just disappear and go hang out with everybody.
Oh, you know for sure
That's
he's
exactly what he's
going
gonna do. Yeah, he's gonna leave her in the hotel room with 2 kids. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's a resort, so who cares what's in the bank account? I have what I want.
I don't know. I think it is difficult. Like, I almost want to say that he should just go with the kids, just them.
Oh,
You know?
yeah, that would be interesting.
Give her some time off. He has to take care of the kids, and they save some money.
But would he? Is his mom still there?
I don't know. I guess the men folk will have to take care of the kids.
Yeah, if his mom was still there, he would go to Samoa, dump the kids with his
Drop
mom,
them off,
and then go do his man stuff, and then come back.
Gosh. Yeah. I don't know what to say about him. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up Happily Ever After, so we will just jump right into The Other Way. So who do you want to start with here?
Let me start where the show started. I'll start with Jenny and Sumit.
Okay.
All right. So Jenny is on a plane for the... Wait, I just went the last time. That's okay. Jenny's on a plane for the third time to go to India. And she has 3 requirements for Sumit. That 1, he gets a divorce. 2, he stopped lying to her. And 3, they get married. He picks her up at the airport where they are both over the moon to be seeing each other. Then they get into a car. Jenny is enjoying the smells and sounds of India until Sumit tells her that the car ride to the house is around 2.5 hours, since the only place Sumit could afford was in the less developed part of Delhi. They finally get to the place after dark, and waiting for them are some men to do a housewarming ceremony. This involves Jenny walking around with a flower pot on her head, a rather large indoor fire, and a cow walking around in all the rooms. This is Jenny's first look at where they will live, and she's pretty disappointed about how old and run down the place is. But after the ceremony ends, she learns that that's the least of their problems. The house they're in now is cheaper than the apartment they were in before, because this is not only in a much rougher part of town, they also have no security. Sumit says they will have to make do like this because they are poor now. So, seems to me that this neighborhood he has chosen should have been information that was shared before she came. So what is the threshold? Was the rundown house something he should have known about? The neighborhood something she should know about? What's the threshold of what you got to warn people of before they come to move in?
I don't know. I feel like in this situation, just Jenny being Jenny, he should have just been upfront. It's not going to change her mind.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't deter her from coming to India, right? So, I mean, in this case, it's like more information. Like, I don't know if she would have done anything different, but she wouldn't have been shocked. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and she would have been shocked, especially when condition 2 is don't lie to me. You'd feel like,
right.
Well, this is an easy opportunity to put some information out there and just let her show her I'm being upfront.
Yeah, so the housewarming thing, do you know anything about the flower pot situation?
I know nothing about it, and I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that. Because I didn't know, because I could see both ways. I could see it actually being a cultural thing that I don't want to make fun of for being a cultural tradition.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. And it for the most part, was lovely.
But especially when they put the flower pot in her head, and she's like,
but yeah, the flower pot, that was like clearly a flower pot. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, so I didn't know what to make of it. It was fine otherwise, but the way they kind of filmed it, and again, sprung it on her. She was like, who are these people that are here? He couldn't give her a heads up. We're going to do this housewarming thing where the flower pot's going to be on your head for a little while. Like, man.
Right. It kind of reminded me of the Deaven and Jihoon when they were doing their little Korean wedding and they had all the little games, and she was like, what's going on? It's like, this is kind of the fun part of the other way, is kind of seeing these cultural traditions. This is a cultural tradition.
You're right.
Asuelu.
This is something that you're right. And he probably kept the details of what was going to happen under wraps for production, because they really like to see the people be like, what is going on? Why are you? I don't know what is happening.
Why is there a cow in my house? They dressed up that cow. It was really cute.
Oh,
but
nice.
I can understand Jenny's concern about not wanting the cow to poop in her house.
Oh, yeah. That would be my primary concern. Mm-hmm.
Right. But then she genuinely seems scared of the cow.
Cows are big.
Yeah.
And if you're not like, it's one of those things that if you're used to cows and you're used to certain things, it's fine. And it doesn't faze you. But if you've only really seen cows in pictures and on TV, or even in the distance when you're driving past the farm, you're like, oh, there's some cows. When you actually get up next to a cow, you're like, this cow is really big. And if it just wanted to like knock me over, it could easily do that. And I don't
seemed like a pretty docile cow. I don't think Jenny had anything to worry about. I don't think they're going to bring a mad cow into someone's house, because wasn't that what Jenny was like concerned about? She's like, I don't know if it's going to be a mad cow and like run around.
Yeah, because it's not a wild animal. It's a domesticated animal. Sure.
Right. Okay, moving on. Let's go to Jihoon and Deaven. So Deaven is packing up to move to South Korea, and Deaven is concerned that Drusilla, her daughter, doesn't completely understand what moving means, but she believes this move is the best for her family. She worries if she's making the right decisions, since Drusilla and her don't know the language. She's also worried that Jihoon has lied about everything being ready for them. So then we see Jihoon in South Korea doing Korean barbecue with his 2 friends. He's nervous because he doesn't want to give up on his relationship, but he's worried that he hasn't prepared for Deaven and the kids. He is embarrassed that Deaven found and paid for the house they will live in for the next month. He admits that he doesn't have a real job, just a side part-time job doing deliveries. He lied to Deaven to get her to come to Korea. His friends ask if he thinks he will be able to afford a house, and Jihoon says as long as he works 2 jobs and does overtime and has no days off, he can do it. His friends are skeptical, saying that they've known Jihoon for 15 plus years and can't imagine him working that much. The friends ask more questions, and Jihoon says he doesn't know and he's getting stressed talking to them about it. And so then his friends tell us in an interview that, this isn't normal. They can't believe he's doing this again, and to not let Jihoon lead you to believe all Korean men are like this because it's embarrassing.
Oh, man.
The friends were funny. So what is the point of continuing to lie if she's going to find out like in a month?
I don't know. I can't figure this guy out.
That's why he didn't know how much he made and was just throwing out random dollar amounts.
Just random dollar amounts. That was awesome.
Wait, how much do you think we need to make? Oh, 5. Yes, I'm making 5,000.
That's exactly how much I'm making. Exactly that much. Oh, yeah. I just couldn't. I can't figure out what his game plan is. It was like, why would you lie? Do you want her to back in Korea that bad that you're like, I need this now?
He does. And I don't know why he thinks that just having her there, because I feel like this is not exclusive to him, but a lot of people kind of have this mentality. If I can just get them in the same room as me, I can somehow convince them to be in this relationship or to really try. Like, I feel like a lot of people kind of have that delusional mentality. I just need to get them here. That's like the biggest hurdle. And then I will convince them to stay. And I kind of almost feel like that's what he thinks. He just needs to get her to the country and then she'll be trapped there.
But it's funny because he says all that, but there's a very clear way. She's already made, explicitly clear. Just get a job and a place to stay and I will come. That's all you have to do. That's it. Just a job and a place to stay. Those 2 things. And you don't have to convince me to stay in. They're already married. There's no convincing that has to happen. Just get a job and a place to stay.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, that is embarrassing that she could make friggin' phone calls from America and find a place to stay. And you couldn't.
Right.
Hey, what are you doing? Like that's my thing with...
Well, he couldn't pay for it. I think that's what it is. It's not the finding the place that's the challenge. It's the paying for the place that's the challenge.
But how did she pay for it? What is she doing?
She's been working.
She's working?
Yeah, she has money. I'm sure she has 90-day money as well.
Oh, I guess that's true. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That helps out.
So I love his friends. His friends are awesome.
His friends were so hilarious. He's embarrassing.
I just
Korean
like the part
men are not
where
like
they
that.
just went and he was like, yeah, I can't imagine him having 2 jobs. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, he's like, he's kind of lazy. We've known him for a long time. We don't see him working that much.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Yeah, they were so funny. They totally threw him under the bus. They're like, this is not normal.
Which is why you can't find a job because you're lazy. And if anybody calls your old employer, they're going to be like, no, he's lazy. He doesn't do anything. He's going to quit.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. All right. Moving on.
All right. Let me go to Kenneth and Armando, but really just Armando.
Yeah.
So Armando has not yet discussed his sexuality with his parents or told them about his plans to move in with Kenneth. So he plans to right now. He is sharing a meal with them and is clearly stressed about the coming conversation because he can barely touch his food. He starts the conversation by telling them that he hid it for years for their sake, but he can no longer hide who he is, and he hopes that this will not affect their love for him. In a very touching moment, his mother gets up and gives him a hug to reassure him that of course she will always love him, and Armando says that he's been waiting and hoping for that moment for a long time. His father also says the news doesn't change how he feels about Armando, but it seems to be something he's still struggling to accept. Then Armando tells them that he has an American partner and will be moving with him soon. He tells them that after he moves, he would like for them to come visit him and Kenneth, and makes it very clear that from here on out, he will not be making any visits back home alone. It's very clear that they must accept him as is, or there will be no more relationship. His mother immediately agrees to visiting him and Kenny, but his dad still needs some time to process everything. So I don't really have a question, but more of a statement for you to react to, because, various versions of this show have been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. But so far, it just seems like Kenny and Armando are on a different show than everybody else.
It does seem that way. Huh?
They're on an earnest, heartfelt, good show. It's not garbage people arguing about touching windows.
Trash TV.
Yeah,
you don't belong on this. You're too pure for this.
Yeah. You guys seem to have real feelings for each other and care about your family.
Lovely family members. No one's suspicious of one another.
Yeah.
There's no lies or deep dark secrets that you're hiding things.
Heartfelt conversations and yeah.
That's so true. Who are these people? You don't belong here. Oh, you beautiful angel faces.
I know. What are you guys doing in a place like this? It's basically what it is, man. What's going on?
That's so true. So it's funny. So bringing us back to 90 Day World, I was thinking about how so different this conversation was compared to our two coming out scenes with Erica and Stephanie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
To the point where you kind of look and you look back on both of their situations, Erica and Stephanie's, and you're like, seems even more fake after seeing Armando with his parents. Mm-hmm. You had the whole range. You had dad who, doesn't like the situation but loves his son. And so he's really grappling with that conflict in his mind where it's he rejects this idea, but he doesn't want to reject his son. And you could just see it in his whole body language and everything. And, and then you see mom who's just raw and emotional and, she just loves him. And then also kind of reminding everyone, I know you said this was the first time, but they've heard this before.
Sure. Yes.
And so it's kind of one of those things where it's they've had a little bit more time to kind of digest the situation. And maybe they were hoping, even I can't remember if his mom or his dad was hoping that it would be different. And I think this is really true. I feel a lot of parents of, people gay, bi, questioning anything, they're concerned with how society is going to accept their children. And so that becomes a major worry and concern for them. And I feel even that's what the dad is just this is going to be a hard life. And I do think it may be a little bit more selfish on the dad because it's this is going to be a hard life for you, but also for me for having a gay son.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if it's the way they describe it, and that part of Mexico is a very macho culture, yes, it's going to be a lot harder for him to have a gay son than otherwise would be. And yes, harder for Armando as well.
Right. So I don't know. It just seems so real.
Yeah, it seems so much more authentic. And then you look back
on Erica and Stephanie, and you're just wow, that was really fake. Mm-hmm. You're that's the show we're used to.
Right.
What show is this?
I was hoping you would have a Prince Charming. Do you want more fried rice? And because these it is different because these are not Americans or, I wouldn't say Americans, but, like somebody who's in a liberal Western culture, right? Or European style culture. I know Australia and America aren't Europe, but, where, Erica's parents know how they're supposed to react. Right. And they know they're supposed to be accepting and they wanted to be accepting. And so they kind of I feel like they almost went overboard with being well, yes, this is nothing. It's not a concern at all. And so this is much more people's gut reactions. Of not having these cultural norms, expectations of how you're supposed to react. Right.
But at the end of the day, I think Armando felt like his parents still loved him. And so, I think that's a big step in the right direction. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with his whole thing about I will only visit with Kenny now. He is my partner. I'm going to kind of stand up for him and for us because it's clearly his parents still love him, but they need a little bit more processing time.
Yeah, and that's why he was like, I hope in the future. He's like, I know this is not something that might happen right now, but he was basically kind of, and do I think this is something that policy that's going to last in perpetuity? Probably not, right? But it's very much a thing as I would love you to come visit us, but do not ask me to come so I can pretend to come and visit you so I can pretend I'm not in this relationship with this guy.
Right. No, and that part I understand, like I shouldn't have to deny myself or pretend I'm living a certain way. But at the same time, I just kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe I feel it's a little bit different because I feel like my parents, I would be perfectly fine with them never meeting my significant other until maybe our wedding day. It's just not important to me. And then also, if anything, like my mom is extra judgmental, so I don't need to hear that, So I'm like fine with them never meeting my parents. So it's kind of like, to me, it's like, well, I feel like they've never even heard of this boyfriend prior to like 2 minutes ago.
Sure.
So why don't you let them just accept that you're dating this guy and know more about him just from you talking about him? Why do they have to meet him right away?
I wasn't even necessarily thinking that they had to meet him right away. I guess I would think he was just making clear of like, this decision is final. This is my life, and we are not going to pretend like it's not. And so these are the ground rules I'm laying down to make sure that happens.
Sure.
And so that was my takeaway from it. And I think like, sure, I will talk to you on the phone. We can Skype with Kenny. We can get to know him better before anybody actually visits. I'm okay with that, but I'm not going to, okay, we want to see you, but please don't bring Kenny. Like, yeah, that's not happening.
All right. Yeah.
And like, sir, and once it's clear to him that the family and everyone accepts the reality of the situation, I'm sure then it was like, oh, well, Kenny's busy at work, so yeah, I can come visit by myself. Like that's, things like that happen all the time for couples. And I think but we have to establish that this is
you're not excluding him.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on to Brittany and Yazan. So I was excited that we got our first cat interlude of the season. So we are in Yazan's home and we're told that his mom will not appear on camera due to cultural beliefs. Yazan speaks to his dad, Ziad, about Brittany. Ziad asks if Yazan talked to her about converting to Islam. Ziad then tells us that he does not like Brittany and she is not good enough for Yazan, but he would be willing to change his mind if she converted. Ziad tells Yazan that if he wants to be married, he has to do it right, which means he has to marry another Muslim. Yazan says the conversion must be slow so she doesn't hate it, but assures him that she will, at minimum, wear a hijab. Yazan truly loves Brittany, so he is happy that his family is going to try and accept her. Ziad then asks Yazan if Brittany is bringing the divorce papers with her, and he assures him that everything is complete. When Brittany had met the family on her first trip, she told the family that she was married to a bad man, and they were getting divorced, so the family expects for the process to now be over. Ziad tells Yazan he cannot accept Yazan only being a boyfriend and they must get married, especially because premarital sex is not okay. Yazan just kind of looks at the ground ashamed. Ziad gives his blessings and tells Yazan not to forget the roses at the airport. We see Brittany on her way to Jordan. She tells us that she has full intentions of corrupting Yazan. She finally lands and is greeted by Yazan, who took his dad's advice and brought a lovely bouquet of flowers. Yazan says he can't sleep with her tonight in the hotel since they are not married yet. He does intend to spend time with her if she's not too tired. So while they're walking to the car, we get kind of a title card, like an explanation that tells us that while production wasn't paying attention, Yazan saw a glimpse of a bottle of alcohol in Brittany's bag. And then we just got to see them arguing. So he demands to know why. Then he starts saying fuck you to everyone, including a confused producer. And then Yazan tells the producer, no, not you. And then he says that he told Brittany she can't drink here. She's still standing by her bag a little distance away, smiling, and tells us that the confrontation was scary and she has never seen this side of him before. She says she is disappointed in his behavior. He feels foolish because this is exactly what his family warned him against. He thinks that she doesn't care about the traditions of his country. He said that he took a lot of risks to make sure the relationship was successful. Brittany defends her position on alcohol. She says it's not illegal and she's not Muslim. This raises a red flag because it reminds her of her controlling ex. Okay, so there was a lot that, happened. I mean, they had, barely been in the country together for more than, half an hour?
If that, yeah.
And then production missed this whole fiasco.
Yeah, they said it was
like
when production was trying to mic her up or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, they weren't ready to film, and then this all happens. So, I don't know. Are you at this point in the first argument, Team Brittany, Team Yazan?
It's tricky. I mean, obviously, I'm not a fan of Yazan going ape shit, right?
Yeah.
Crazy overreaction. And I'm not a fan of him, especially about alcohol, right? That's because, as someone who partakes in alcohol, it's like, you did this because somebody brought a bottle of tequila?
Yeah.
This is the reaction that gets? Wow. But she's lying to him. She lied to him about who she was. She had to.
Oh, sure.
And so, he had certain expectations because she led him along to have certain expectations. I should take that back. One of the two of them, or both of them, it has set these bizarrely wrong expectations about what's going to happen.
They are not on the same page at all. And they are both not looking at the situation. Both of them have been lying.
Yes.
One way or the other. Or, if anything, I don't really think Yazan has been lying, but his actions do not back up his words. So when Brittany says, I intend on corrupting Yazan, I really believe she thinks that she can do that.
Yes.
The reason why is because she got him to have sex.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if I can get you to have sex, I mean, yeah, so we can drink. That's breaking the rules too, but, you broke the rules, so it's fine. So she has, this expectation that he really can be corrupted. He can be a bad boy. He can go against his religion. And she doesn't think that religion or culture really plays any kind of factor in their relationship.
She doesn't. And so they said they spent 40 hours, and she's met her parents.
Yeah.
Right? We had gone through that.
40 hours doesn't seem long at all. Why would you fly all that way for 3 days?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, well, I guess it means it's more than just, we met at a club and hooked up, and now then we talked online and we're getting married now. It's not your entire thing is not based on, that one. Well, this guy who was supposed to be super conservative had sex with me, so now it's time to make this hot party boy. But because you would think that having met his parents and saw how super conservative they are.
Oh, they're very conservative. The fact that his mom wouldn't even be on camera.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. I don't know what the cultural rules are with that, but it just seems like it means they take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever the rules are, they are serious about them.
Yeah, and I just kind of feel like the fact that the family is pressuring him to convert her, and that Yazan even says, oh, well, I am going to convert her, but I just can't, throw this at her all at one time because she'll reject it. And he knows, because we already saw that he's trying to plant the seeds. He's been bringing it up to her in the video chats, and she really slyly tries to avoid the situation by bringing up something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, she said that's what she's doing.
They both have such a huge expectation that the other person is going to change in such fundamental ways that it is. This one does belong on the show, because this is just disaster.
Yeah, this is not going to end well for either of them.
No. Absolutely not.
But at the same time, at the end of the day, who do you think is going to be kind of, I guess, worse off? And I think it's Yazan.
Yeah, it's Yazan. Because Brittany's gonna come in, throw her bombs and whatever, and when she's done, she's gonna leave and go back to Florida.
Right.
And Yazan has to live as now the guy who tried to marry
sex.
And tried to bring that crazy ridiculous American woman into our family, into our home. Like, that brings shame upon everybody that you did
right.
that.
Shame. Yeah, that's really true. And I say, of all the American people he could have gone for, you know, she is definitely on the you're never converting her.
No.
Like, you have a 0% chance of converting that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is he? I don't know what he's seeing that makes him think he can. I mean, unless she's been very, very misleading when they talk.
I don't even know how they're going to get to the hotel at this point.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how are you? She's not apologetic at all. She's embarrassed about his behavior, and she thinks that he is the one that's in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I kind of feel like he is like, oh, my family was right. You know? Like, she is this bad person.
It just seems to me like this relationship is over
now.
Already? Yeah. Like, now? Like, it's a little bit... No, because it almost feels like it's not like...
Can't be.
Rebecca and Ziad last season, where he had conservative parents, but he wasn't so conservative, right?
Right. Yeah, he just acted like it in front of his parents, but like behind closed doors, he definitely wasn't. Whereas Yazan seemed to, I think he must have told his dad that he had sex with Brittany. Because the way his dad talked about it, he's like, well, we don't do that, and Yazan just like is looking at the ground, and he looked like
a dog that got caught like eating from
right.
Yeah.
So much shame. And so I feel like he has regrets over not waiting.
Mm-hmm. And the dad's pretty much like, don't do it again. Get married.
No, actually, his dad is like trying to tell him like, yeah, in order to make this better, you have to marry the girl. It's almost like the shotgun wedding, except for with virginity.
Yeah. And like, but also, you can't do it again before you're married. Like, you gotta fix this problem. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So bad. All right. So let me go to the last one. And that is Ariella and Biniam, but just Ariella. So Ariella is finalizing her packing list for her move to Ethiopia. We see that her mom has two goodie bags full of medical supplies that she got to take for the Ethiopian birth. But one thing she was not able to get was the medication for an epidural because she's not an anesthesiologist and doesn't have access to it. Before they leave, we see Ari say goodbye to everyone, and they're all pretty sad about her leaving. Her dad says goodbye from inside the house instead of by the car, which apparently was a very clear sign to everybody that he was having a rough time of it. Ari's sister tells her to take very good care of that baby, and then they're off to the airport. In the car, Ariella tells us how she's also pretty sad because while she'll be with the love of her life baby, she won't have her family or her dogs, so it'll be very different. Her scene ends when Ari and her mom get to the airport where her whole life is packed into 7 suitcases. So that's pretty much it. Was it just me, or does she seem like one of the most reluctant people to go? Like, out of both seasons of his show?
Yeah. I think it's also because we haven't seen him at all.
Yes.
So far.
So I expect to get I expect next episode or the episode after that, depending on if they're in it, to get that 24 hours earlier. This is what Baby's been doing. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, it just seems like she's really close to her family. I don't think we've seen this before. Like, her nephew, I mean, and he was young, so this is like a very young kid reaction. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't even talk to her or acknowledge her or face her because he was mad that she was leaving.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, that goes to show you that her family, like, they're tight and they don't want her to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess you could stop. I don't know. So I was struck twice because we've talked about both couples now. Twice in this, in the interview, they said the phrase, the love of my life. Okay. And it was her and it was Brittany.
Yeah.
They both said, I'm going to go live with love. And both of them just sounded like they were trying to convince themselves that it was true. Like they didn't really believe it. And they're like,
well, I believe it because Brittany, that is not the love of her life. I don't really even know.
I don't know if she's a love of her life person.
Yeah.
Brittany.
I kind of feel so too. I feel like the love of her life is probably herself.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Like she's just one of those people that like just wants to have fun and wants to do her, you know, which is
Which is fine.
but
There's
just
nothing wrong
don't
with that.
drag someone else into it, you know? Like, that's fine. And then Ari, I kind of get the impression, and I mean, and this is probably the impression I get because we haven't seen Baby yet,
Right.
is that this is like a situation that maybe got a little more serious than she expected, and now she's kind of forced to settle down, whereas she kind of seemed very much like a free spirit before, but having a baby, having a family means she's going to have to settle down, so maybe it's like she's having doubts about this lifestyle.
Sure. So, yeah. So this one is tricky. Yeah. Is she more worried about, because she's left her family before. Like
that's not a problem.
She said she left or lived in Argentina or whatever and blah, blah, and she's done that. But yeah, to leave your family to go plant yourself somewhere else. I think she's very nervous about, and, you know, kind of not wanting to be planted anywhere.
Right. She's not someone who wants to settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, she's a free spirit, so this is really hindering her free spirit lifestyle.
Right. So how much do you think her mom is going to, I mean, what do you think the mom's plan is? The mom going to really support her, or is she going to go and try to like talk her out of it and like point out all the bad things about every medical center they see? And it's like, well, if you're back in America, you have this and I have this and this could go wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. Her parents kind of came off as those parents that are super loving and almost to the point where they're enabling.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of feel like that's how she kind of got to where she is now. So I don't really see her mom like trying to talk her out of it.
Sure.
But maybe voicing concerns, I can see her mom doing that. But yeah, I kind of feel like her mom really is trying to be supportive.
Sure. I guess that's true. She
seems like one of those kinds of
Yeah.
moms.
Yeah. Like, I don't like this decision, but I'll help you with it.
But since you're doing it anyway, let me help out.
Yeah. Right. It's funny because I know they also had to spend a ton of money on her, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
living
for
in
sure.
Argentina and
her dad's
all
like
these
a
trips.
cardiologist,
Yeah.
though. I'm sure they have money.
Right.
They were living in a somewhat modest house, but I don't know location-wise. It could be a nice location. So it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe they just choose to spend their money elsewhere or just...
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you never know that because,
money.
you know, there's definitely, I mean, they're in Princeton, which, you know, has a university and everything. So I'm sure it's not like super cheap, but yeah. But, you know, some places you can go, it always messes up the Midwestern people. In your place, you were like this too, where you're like, if I go to I go to the Midwest and I go to somebody's house and they're like, oh, that's my house. And I just like say something like, oh, wow, this is really nice. This house would cost like $600,000, $700,000 where I am. And they're like, no, it wouldn't. That's ridiculous. No, it wouldn't. I was like, yeah, it would. Like,
yeah. And they're like, oh, it's like 200,000. You're like,
exactly.
what?
Like, yes. Like, what? I paid $215 for it. I'm like, what?
When I watch those HTVs and they're like, oh, this house is like 300,000. I'm like, what state are you in?
Right.
And it's like something like South Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh,
I do like to watch those and laugh at the people for their things because they're like come up here and be like, oh, we're looking at Bethesda and Chevy Chase and our target range is 250,000, and it's like,
yeah, you're like a 1-bedroom studio.
No, you can't because they don't have those there. Like they only have big houses.
A shack.
Yeah, no,
Casita.
Those options aren't there. Your option is 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom house. Those are your only two options. That's what's there. There's no apartments or anything. No condos.
Crazy.
None of those are even there.
Oh, crazy. All right. So I think that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then we're still waiting to hear about or see Tim and, they said her name, Maliza. Maliza, yeah. Yeah,
and they teased that one in the next time, so we will get to see
and I was
next
confused because Tim didn't sound American.
American?
Yeah, he sounded like he had an accent, and I was confused by it. But maybe it's just, he didn't talk a whole lot because it was a preview.
Yeah.
So it might have just been my imagination. I don't know.
Could have been. Plus, I wasn't paying that close attention to the previews. I try to keep my mind clear for the next episodes.
Right. Okay, so we have a bigger pool of people to draw from, but what about your student of the week?
I'm going to, even though we have a big pool of people, I'm still going to dig a little bit deep. And I'm going to go with, I can't remember her name, Paul's mom.
Oh my gosh, so did wife, Mary.
Yes. For
How is it the pool's so deep we decided on the same one?
I know, for actually following through when you say you were done.
Because Mary has been an enabler.
Yes.
We have seen her enable Paul. She says no always at the beginning and always ends up caving in. So fingers crossed that she really doesn't do it this time. But I mean, she called him out for what it is. She's like, no, you cannot live here because you will never leave. We both know that.
Yeah. And then she said, get your life together.
Yes. Which I was like, yep, he needed to hear that as well.
Uh-huh.
He does need to get his life together. Absolutely. So yes, go marry some tough love.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What about your dunce?
I went with Jihoon.
Okay.
Just for what is, he has no plan. He like took zero effort and like it's the lowest effort thing he could think of. What's the easiest way to get Deaven here? Oh, I got it. Lie and say I got a job.
How much did you make? How much do I need to be making? Yep. Okay. That's how much we're making now. Absolutely. And his friends calling him out to be, yeah, this is not normal. He is not reflective. Do not make him like, do not think all Koreans are like this. We are not all like this.
Well, it's funny because I'm not surprised by that because my understanding is there was a concerted effort in South Korea, like, you know, after the war. To be like, listen, we're a small country. You know, we got water on three sides. We don't have a ton of natural resources. If we're going to, you know, do anything in the world, we have to invest in our people. Like we have to have hardworking, you know, smart, educated
We are going to be an industrious people.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just be the hardest workers.
This guy is not representative of us.
Not that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. My dunce was Andre. I just felt like he was an entitled asshole. So much. You know, he's like, he expected that money. And, you know, Libby, I feel like her concerns are 100% valid that he is not going to show his appreciation. Yes, he is happy that he has the money. And that's going to put Chuck on his good side for a little bit.
Is it though? Until Chuck starts telling him no to stuff because Chuck's paying. Yeah.
Right. So
because you have to deal with that. Well, I think we should do this. And the Chuck goes, well, I'm writing the check and that ain't going to happen. So. Yeah, I can't imagine that conversation. That's not happening. Yeah. Okay. What about your life lesson? So, I have one for you. Oh, I got to go back because it was with the other notes. Oh, so this one goes to like Tanya and Syngin. And that's like drinking problems are a big deal. And it's not just a laughing matter and just, that's a little tiny flaw of him is he's drunk all the time. Like that's actually a big deal. And it's not like something to, and because Syngin just seemed to think it was just like, oh, this is just, haha, aren't I funny? Remember that time I lost a motorcycle and didn't come home at that night and stuff? Ho, ho, all those good times, fun. And it's like, no, it's a serious matter. Oh, yeah. Losing a motorcycle, like, yeah, that's concerning. Right. Like because if you're doing that and you're so things, I mean, I don't know the guy, obviously, but if I heard him say those things, I lost this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's driven drunk. Like, oh, yeah. Like, yeah. How else did he get rid of the motorcycle? He must have been drunk. Yeah. So I'm not. True. Yeah. So they kind of played it for laughs. I'm like, that actually is pretty serious. So life lessons, don't take drinking problems lightly. Yeah. Okay. So my life lesson is inspired by Brittany, who keeps on saying, you know, like, I'm American, like gonna live this American lifestyle. So if you insist on identifying yourself as an American and living an American lifestyle or, you know, culturally American, you probably shouldn't just ever travel outside of America, let alone try to live outside of America. You have to understand that if you're in another country, like there are different kind of set of societal norms and expectations, and you kind of have to abide by them. Right. And if you don't want to abide by them, don't go there. Yeah, especially with the amount of like offense that certain Americans take over people doing that in America. Like there's people who are like, you're in America, speak English. Like, well, but they go to another country and would, you know, continue to speak English. Right. Like little things like that. It's like, yeah, But I'm with it. I mean, and there's plenty of places you can travel in the world where people are fine with Americans being Americans. And you don't have to really change all that much. And so, go there.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. So I know we said we were going to do Happily Ever After, the tell-all for season 1. Sorry. Are we on season 1? Yeah.
Yes, the classic. Classic.
It's confusing me because now we have Happily Ever After, like the current season we're also doing. We said we were going to do that this week, but we are just swamped with our reading schedule. So we will do that next week. So we'll have 2 episodes next week. This will be our only episode for this week. So we will see you all next week then.
All right. That's good.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.